Hey everyone, welcome back to Discover and Learn. We often feel that we are not able to understand English. English is getting difficult for us to understand, or when we read something or we listen to something, or in case if somebody asks us a question, we don't understand, right? And we have to ask again, sorry, pardon, or can you please repeat? And then we listen to it again and then we try to answer that question. So understanding the language or understanding English is a challenge for us, and understanding the language and speaking the language are also very much related. So at times we feel that we understand the language but we are not able to speak, which means we are not able to connect the two, right? We understand the language and we are not able to speak, which means we have lost this connection. We are not able to connect these two so that we can respond in English. So in this video, I am going to tell you how we can start understanding the language well, or what are the methods which can help us to start understanding the language easily, effectively and quickly in any situation. Like if we are reading something, if we are listening to something, or if somebody asks us a question and we have to respond to it. So how do we understand that in the first attempt? How do we understand it immediately? Okay, it's very simple, it's very easy, and it has a connection between us understanding the language and speaking the language, which I am further going to tell you in this video. So how to overcome this problem of understanding the language is what I'm going to speak in this video. On that note, guys, welcome back to my channel. I am your communications coach and a soft skill trainer by profession, and I'm here to help you out with all your communications problems and to help you speak English fluently and confidently. And if you're struggling to understand English, or if you're struggling to speak English, this video is for you. So quickly subscribe my channel, like and share my videos, do write your comments in the comment section, and do not forget to press the notification icon so that you get all my videos on time, free of cost, and access to all the amazing content on this channel. What you have to do is stay tuned, stay connected, and watch my entire video to master this skill. Now let's begin with the topic. The one question which always comes to me is, or people generally ask me is, English is too difficult. I am not able to understand English, or I'm not able to pick up English, and I'm not able to speak English fluently and confidently. This is the most asked question in all my sessions. And I'm sure you also have this question in mind. Well, don't worry, I'm going to answer this question and I'm going to give you simple ways to correct this. How to develop your understanding, how to strengthen or enhance your understanding of the language, and how to start speaking the language with these methods. So at this stage, when you feel that you're not able to understand the language well, the best thing you should do is, or you should focus more on, is listening and reading. I'm going to take it one by one and I'm going to tell you how and what you should do. So first I'm going to take reading. Now reading out loud is a very good exercise. Okay, it will not only help you in speaking the language or getting familiar with the sounds and rhythm and intonation and pronunciation. It has a lot of other benefits as well. Now when you will start reading, what it will do is you will be able to focus on the language. You will be able to focus on the sentence construction. Okay, you will be able to focus on the words. You will be able to focus on the pronunciation. And the lots of things which you will get to know. You will get to know about the idea, what the sentence means, and many other things. Okay, so that is why reading out loud is very much required. Now, how do we start? I understand it's not easy for all of us to start reading from day one, because some people love reading and some people just do not want to read. Okay, so the people who do not want to read or who do not enjoy reading, I have a solution for you. We all love comics, we all love cartoons, we all love comics, and we all love Bollywood news, right? So what you can do is you can start with comics, you can start with cartoons, you can start with any Bollywood magazine, you can start with any short story. right? And then you can move to a novel or a magazine or a autobiography or a newspaper. Okay, so whatever interests you, whatever you feel like doing or reading, whatever you feel like reading, just take up that and start reading. So comics is the best. I have read a lot of comics during my school days. During my summer vacation, I used to order some comics so that I can stay home and I can start reading those. So I have done that. And story books also. So there are lots of short story books also available in the market which you can buy. You can buy on Amazon, you can go out and buy them. There are a lot of cartoon books also, right, which are available in the market, which are mostly pictures, which are for kids, and you'll see a lot of pictures, so that when you read that and you see the picture, you'll be able to understand in what context it is spoken and what is spoken about. So these are basically children's book, kids book, and kids book are always more of a pictorial representation. Okay, whatever is written, it is described with pictures as well. So that is the best way to understand a language. When you read and you see the picture, you'll be able to understand the whole context, what it means, and you'll be able to relate to it. So the books which contains a lot of pictures, you can pick up those also initially to start reading and understanding the context. So understanding the context is very much essential. So that is why start with comic books or cartoon books or any Bollywood magazine, short stories, and then you can switch to novels and autobiographies and newspaper, whatever you like. Okay, so this is how you can start with. But make it a habit that you read it out loud, and while reading, you have to focus on each and every sentence. So step 1, what you have to do while reading. Once you have read the entire thing, you have to start thinking about what did you understand. Okay, so basically the idea, what you understood, the idea which is spoken about in that comic or cartoon or storybook. Okay, what is the storyline, or what is described, or what was said in that particular thing, in that particular book or in that particular article. So start thinking about the idea or the story, what was there, or what was the point which was made in that book. So that is very important. That is step 1 you have to see. You have to analyze. Second is take each sentence and see if you are able to understand what every sentence means. Okay, so that is another thing you have to do. Now in this way, what will happen is, the first thing is, of course, when you are actually having a conversation with people, so when people have spoken, you will be able to grasp the main idea of the conversation. So this is a practice session basically. When you're reading a book or a magazine or a newspaper or an article or anything else, when you're practicing in this way, when you're trying to, after reading, when you're trying to analyze what you have understood, or what was the idea, or what was the story, if you start analyzing that, it will be much easier for you to understand people when they're having a conversation with you. It's the same thing, right? They have also spoken, and you have to collect those, grasp that idea. So if you're doing in this way, if you're doing this every single day, it will be much easier for you to understand people when they are having a conversation with you. So that is why it is very important to understand the idea and analyze it. And the second thing is, sentence by sentence, you have to see if you are able to understand it. Now in this case, what will happen is, you might come across many new words. Okay, the first impulse, or first thing what we do is, we go and look up in the dictionary. Okay, but here I will not advise that. I will always tell you that try reading that sentence again and again. Start reading 2-3 sentences together to understand the context, to see if you can understand in what context this sentence is spoken or this word is spoken, and try to come up with its meaning. So when you will start reading the sentence again and again, start trying to analyze that sentence, in what context it is used, what sentence means, you will definitely be able to understand that word as well. So here, if you make an effort of understanding that word on your own, By reading it again and again and understanding the context, it will be much easier for you to understand the language very quickly and easily. Every time you can't go back to the dictionary and find the meaning, right? And whenever if you're having a conversation with someone, people come up with new words, right? They might have a collection of good words and you might not know that word, which doesn't mean you'll not be able to understand his English or her English. No, it's not true. By understanding the context, understanding the main idea of the speech, we can make out what that word means and what the person is trying to say. So that is why this exercise is very important. Try to read sentence by sentence and see if you are able to understand each sentence well. And if some word comes up, try to understand what it means in that context. See if you're able to understand. If not, you can definitely go and look in the dictionary. That's absolutely fine. But then make an effort of understanding that word in that context, in that sentence on your own. That is really going to help you in a long way. Right? As I've given the example, if somebody is having a conversation with you and it comes up with a new word, you can't get lost, right? You can't start thinking, oh, what does that mean? If you start thinking about that word, you will not be able to hear the whole conversation and you will not be able to understand the whole conversation then, even if you know everything else except that word. So don't focus on unnecessary things. Okay, that is not important. Trying to understand each sentence in context, trying to understand the idea in context of what has been spoken is important. Okay, so these two things you have to keep in mind while you are reading a book or anything else. Or you're reading anything else like a newspaper or a magazine or a novel or an autobiography. Okay, so these two things you have to do while reading, and it is really going to help you in understanding the language very well and picking up the language quickly. Trust me on this. It requires a little effort, but doesn't matter. Once you start picking up, you will start enjoying the journey, definitely, and you will start enjoying the process. This is the best method of understanding the language, and once you start understanding the language, it will be much easier for you to speak the language as well. Because you know the sentence construction. You are coming across a lot of sentences every single day and you know how to express that feeling or that thing because you are understanding each sentence, right? You are trying to decode each sentence, what it means. So if I come across a sentence which says, I'm not well today, I'm going to see a doctor. If you come across this sentence, I'm not well today, which means I am sick. So, next time when you are not feeling good, you can say, I'm not well today. I want to see a doctor. I want to see a doctor means I want to go to the doctor, right? So this is how it helps. Once you start understanding each sentence well and grasping the sentences and understanding the language, it will be much easier for you to replicate it in your own situations. That is what the magic of reading is. And the two steps which I spoke about, what you have to focus on. So it will help you in replicating it in your actual situations as well. Okay, so this is about reading. The second thing is listening or watching. The idea behind reading and listening or speaking is the same, that you have to grasp the language. You have to analyze what it is said. But while reading, you are more focused. But while listening or watching, you might get distracted, right? You might not focus 100%, but that's fine. That's fair enough. Okay, you can always read. If you don't enjoy reading or if you are getting bored of reading, then you can just take a break and start listening or watching something. Watching in the sense you can watch any movie, you can watch any series, you can watch any commentary, you can watch any podcast, you can watch any news, etc., etc. Whatever you like, but it has to be in English, of course. And I would suggest if you want to watch something which interests you, it will be much better at this point of time because you will focus more on that. And once you focus more on that, it will be easier for you to grasp things and start understanding things. Okay, so the focus should be on what is being said in that. So once you watch that podcast or once you watch that news, start thinking about the idea, what it spoke about, or what was the news about, or what was the story about, anything what you have watched. So you have to start analyzing that whether you are able to understand the idea of what is spoken about in that particular video or episode, whatever you are watching. Okay, and then while you're listening to it, make sure that you are able to understand each sentence also. You can pause it, repeat it, but you have to focus on understanding each sentence as well. That will help you. So here also you can start with cartoon movies, you can start with animated movies, you can start with some songs, you can start with some talk shows or comedy or anything which you like. Okay, so start with simple things and then increase your difficulty level. Okay, so that you can focus more on things. What it will do again, when somebody is talking and you're listening to it, it will help you to focus on what is spoken and whether you are able to understand it or not, or what efforts you need to put in to understand things, or where you're not understanding. So this is going to help you in that. When you're watching something, you're looking at the person, right? On screen, there's a screen and the person is there on screen, right? So, but still you are listening to somebody. So this will be an exercise for you to help you to understand what the person is saying, so that tomorrow if you're having a conversation with another person, you can also understand him or her easily. Okay, so that is why here on screen when you're watching something, you have to pay attention to and see if you're able to understand him or her or not. If you're able to understand the plot, if you're able to understand the story, if you're able to understand what is spoken in that show. Okay, so you have to improve your understanding in this way. So you have to start with basics and then increase your difficulty level. Okay, like you can start with cartoons or animated movies or any comedy show or a talk show or a chat show or a podcast or a news or a commentary, whatever you feel like you can understand. So your focus here should be understanding the person, what he or she is speaking. Okay, so if you start doing this, if you start practicing in this way, it is definitely going to help you in your actual conversations with people, right? You will be able to focus, you know how much to focus on, where to focus on, how to understand the idea and what to answer, right? So this is a practice session. So start watching these things, start picking up words and sentences and ideas what is spoken about. So these two things you have to focus on. While listening also, you can listen to a lot of audio books, you can listen to a lot of podcasts, you can listen to a lot of news or commentary, sports commentary or anything else which you like, or any spiritual talks or anything else which you can or music. You can just listen to English songs as well. You can put on your headphone and you can start listening to. Okay, here what will happen is you will not be distracted. You will be able to listen to each sentences carefully and you'll be able to focus on each sentence also. So here also what you try doing is focusing on how the sentences are spoken, whether you're able to understand the sentences, and once the whole thing is over, whether you're able to understand the idea or what was said in that. Okay, so you have to analyze, understand whether you're able to understand the language or not. Okay, if you're not able to understand certain things, listen to it again. 2 times, 3 times, there's no harm in that. Start listening to, start focusing more on and see if you're able to understand it. Once you start practicing things in this way, it will definitely help you to understand the language better each time. And once you start understanding the language better, it will be much easier for you to respond to it or reply to it or replicate that in your own words, in your own situations. It's the same, right? When you're listening, when you're watching somebody, when you're reading an article, you have to understand what is spoken about in that, right? That is the first thing. It's the same in your situation also. When you're having a conversation with someone, you have to understand what the other person is saying. So if you're practicing in this way to understand what is being said in 3 different mediums, you will definitely be able to understand what the person is speaking. So once you understand that, it will be easier for you to respond to that person. And of course, each sentence is very important because there are lots of things involved in it. You have to understand the sentence structure. You have to understand each sentence, what it means, so that if tomorrow you have to speak on something, you know what you have to speak, what sentences you have to come up with, what words you can use. So that is why focus on each sentences. And since I've asked you not to use a dictionary unless it is required, this will also help you to understand if a person uses some new word which you don't know. So while listening to his conversation, while listening to his sentences, or while listening to his speech, you will be able to understand the context and relate to it, right? So you'll not need a dictionary there, or you'll not go blank there. You will know what exactly he or she means, and it will help you to reply to that person. Okay, so guys, I guess this process is very simple. You have to start getting into a habit of reading or listening or watching. Okay, start with simple and then increase your difficulty level, and make sure you follow 2 steps. One is analyzing what is being said, and second is follow each sentence, whether you're able to understand each sentence well or not. And if in case you come across any new word, see if you're able to understand that word in context to what is spoken, right? If you start practicing in this way, your English understanding journey and speaking journey will be much easier and effortless. So guys, that's it for today. I'll see you in my next session. Until then, keep learning, keep speaking, keep watching, and keep exploring. See you. Bye-bye and take care. And don't forget to like my videos.